Welcome to another exciting episode of the No Show. We are two geeks who talk about everything. My name is Aaron, and I'm here with my cousin, Landon.
Good day, folks. It's been a minute since we've done one of these.
Oh, sure. But, things happen. Life gets in the way sometimes. It's all right. Nothing.
And life finds a way.
Life does find a way. As Jeff Goldblum.
Ian Malcolm. Yeah.
Or Dr. Ian Malcolm so famously said so long ago. This week, if you've got a fedora, dust it off. If you got a bullwhip, that's your personal, thing, and we're not going to judge you. But get them out because we are talking all about Indiana Jones. We're going to focus heavily on Dial of Destiny, the brand new Indiana Jones movie that just came out a couple of weeks ago. It is not doing well in the box office, which is kind of a bummer. But, at the same time, we know this is the last one. Harrison Ford's not going to be coming back again. But if you have not yet seen it, and you may not have since it's doing so poorly at the box office, we're going to spoil the crap out of it.
It could be your fault. You didn't go see it.
You promised you would. It's only like $13. Come on, man.
It's only 2.5 hours of your time.
It is nostalgia at its finest. So if you haven't seen it, we're going to spoil the heck out of this thing. So you've been warned. We're not gonna sugarcoat any of it. In fact, we're going to spoil the crap out of every Indiana Jones movie that has ever existed, because it's probably going to be worth talking about at least the original trilogy a little bit as we have our conversation tonight. So, You've had your warning. Now let's get into this Dial of Destiny thing. You've gotten a chance to see it, right, Landon?
Oh yeah, I did. I saw it last weekend when you saw it, or when this airs, it'll be a week and a half ago.
Oh, right. So did I go with my mom to see this one? I did. She likes to go see movies sometimes, and Indiana Jones is one of those that I figured she'd like to see. When you can deal with an older franchise, this is a franchise that's as old as you.
It's funny the amount of people in the theater when my wife and I went and saw it on our date night, and with the amount of people who were kind of like our parents' age in the theater, it was comical.
Yeah, because those are the people who were in their 20s when the first one came out.
You were seeing the book club sequel. You know what I mean?
Oh, did we sign up for 80 for Brady? I didn't realize it.
I did go see 80 for Brady, and it was that same clientele.
Well, I mean, it's not a surprise. Harrison Ford is himself an octogenarian, and so
octogenarian.
Yes.
Wow, that means
someone in their 80s.
I know, but it's a long way around to the point, but it's still fancy. I find that's an eloquent way of saying it.
It is what it is. If he was over 100, I call him a centenarian, a centaur. I don't know, something like that. A centurion. No, it's just whatever. Anyway, he is an octogenarian. He's in his 80s, playing somebody in his 60s. So I mean, he pulled that off pretty well.
He did.
But that was it was quite a ride.
I loved seeing the 60s. Right?
Oh yeah, 1969, because it was right after
because it was the moon
landing.
Right. I loved seeing that, and how they portrayed it, and just the vibe and feel of the whole thing with that era, or even at the turn of the era, really. But it's just like 1969. That's just like such a pivotal year.
Well, and I thought it was fun too when they I think it was the first full trailer that came out, played the Rolling Stones behind, and kind of mixed it in with the original John Williams score, and it was a fun little mashup, and I thought that was great. I was like, if this is going to be an indication of how fun this movie is going to be, then great, let's do it.
Do you remember in do you remember in the third movie, Last Crusade, how you spent the beginning of the movie? Now, you got invested in the first two movies, Raiders and then Temple of Doom, and who Indiana Jones is, right? And you see him in these different scenarios, and it's just like you're plopped right in the middle of the action in those movies. So in the Last Crusade, it starts off, and you are not in the Indiana Jones, prime era. This is when he's a kid. It's River
Right.
Phoenix, and you have what is a pretty extended introduction in that way, right? And you're kind of it almost was like a young Indiana Jones movie, and it wraps up. I found this to be similar because it was a long introduction to get
Yeah.
to 1969.
Yeah, the flashback scene there at the beginning was probably a good 20 minutes
Yeah,
of
felt long, fresh.
right
Yeah,
there at the end of World War II, and which was good. I mean, I'm interested, it'll never happen, I really hope it doesn't happen based on, the numbers that are coming out of the box office. It's certainly not going to happen. Disney's not going to invest in this anymore, I don't think. But it would be so interesting to know, what's Indiana's story during World War II. I mean, dude's a war hero.
he was a
What
war
was he
hero,
doing? What was he doing? I mean, we saw him pre-war fighting Nazis twice. We
right?
see him at the end of the tail end of World War II, still fighting Nazis. So
Right.
what's he doing during the actual war? Is he a boots on the ground soldier? Is he someone who like an officer who is in command of a unit somewhere? What's
I think he
his
was doing
job during the
special
war?
ops. I mean, the fact that in this one he's caught, he's dressed up in the Nazi gear, he's obviously trying to pass himself off.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think he's doing special ops.
That makes
Um,
sense.
that's
He's
his kind of specialty.
he's our Wolfenstein 3D guy, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh so all right. So overall, what did you think of Dial of Destiny?
I really liked it. I really liked it a lot. I thought it was honoring to the franchise in many ways. A lot of callbacks and the feel and vibe was good. It's funny, you and I talk about when we watched the Flash movie, and about how the CGI, the facial CGI, was pretty low budget, and then you see this, and it's just again another step up, revealing how Marvel Disney, or Disney is like, it just keeps taking things to the next level, and so that was impressive. You still saw it a little bit, I mean, here and there, right? You could see it, but
Sure.
the plot I thought was strong. It was a little long, but the way that it ended, and the way that we can get to it, but just how he got to see history in the making as an
Unfolding, yeah.
archaeologist, I loved that. I thought that was such a great thing. And then of course how the ending is with Marion. So I liked it. I know other people don't, but I really did. I could watch it again.
No, yeah. So
You?
I went into it, I was trying to hold back my nostalgia because I knew if I went into it with those rose-colored glasses, I would just be like, "Oh, it's Indiana Jones. This is
That's
gonna be so
what I
great."
did.
So I didn't want to go into it with that. I tried to go in with lowered expectations.
Yeah.
Um, and because as we mentioned in our last episode about the Flash, I went into that one with super high expectations and
Right.
I was
Right.
disappointed. So I
Right.
figured if I go in there with low expectations, I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm just going to enjoy an entertaining movie.
Yeah.
And so even before going into it, my prediction was I'm going to like it. I'm going to like it more than Crystal Skull, which I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm still going to walk away from it saying they should have stopped with Last Crusade,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I mean they literally rode off into the sunset. That's a perfect ending. Why do you make more movies after that? You said
Yeah.
goodbye to the character. That's it. A trilogy wrapped it up. But no, let's come along 20 years later and what's this about a crystal skull?
Yeah.
No.
No, I think I'm with you there. I mean, The Last Crusade was the perfect ending. It was a great ending to the series. And you look at, I think if there was like a like Crystal Skull had not been done at all, right? And you just got this movie years later as a throwback. Let's find out what old Indiana Jones is up to in his older years. I think it would have been, I think that it probably would have been more well received. I think a lot of people went into it skeptical, and rightly so, because of how poor Crystal Skull was. So that
Right.
kind of colors and taints a little bit the vibe.
Well, it's funny too because when Crystal Skull was being made, I remember I personally thinking I don't remember how much was being said by the public on the internet or whatever, but I remember feeling like it's a big deal that Harrison Ford is playing Indiana Jones again because he's kind of too old for the role now,
Right,
and that was 20 years ago when they made Crystal Skull.
right.
This is now, and he is 81 years old, and it's just like, I mean, is this okay? Like he's going to kill himself. Um, you know, I this so I would liken this to comparing like Rocky Balboa to Rocky 5. It's like if you had ended with Rocky 4, that's great. He tore
Yeah,
down the wall, he ended the Cold War, and that's it. But then you come back with Rocky 5 and it's kind of a
absolutely.
disappointment. And that's what Crystal Skull was. And now you've got Rocky Balboa, and he comes back with Dial of Destiny, and it's like, okay, this is a better send off than Crystal Skull was, but it's still. I will say this too. I was really emotionally drawn in at the end when he was so folks, if you haven't seen the movie, there's a time travel element that's involved. This dial of destiny, that they're after. That's the artifact. That's the MacGuffin of this movie.
Always
Um,
a MacGuffin.
always the MacGuffin. The dial of destiny is what they're after, and it was created by Archimedes, the historical, um,
Not the owl
not the owl from Sword and Stone.
Sword of the
No,
Stone cartoon. No.
no. This is the real Archimedes,
Archimedes.
human being. And so apparently he created. He's a mathematician. He created this, and it was supposed to be able to predict rifts in the space time continuum.
Right.
Um,
Which real pause real quick. I liked that because as opposed to them finding a time machine,
right.
and that's the way I walked into it, thinking that they were going to find a time machine device. And that would have been a little too much like Crystal Skull. So the idea that it's a device that predicts rifts in time, and I don't think that's so out of the blue or crazy. It's like a natural phenomenon, right?
Well, no, because there have been recorded like fringe science kind of things where and they could just be stories,
Right.
who knows what you see on the internet, but I remember recently reading about someone in the Ukraine, right? He was oh gosh, when was it? It was in the 90s, I think. I know it was after the fall of the Soviet Union, and Ukraine was its own nation. But he was from Ukraine from the 50s. He was wearing like 50 style clothes. He had a camera that was from the 50s, and he just showed up in the
Yep.
90s or whenever it was. And like they were able to like track down uh his girlfriend from back then, and she said yes, he disappeared a long time ago, but he came back.
See,
And
and
so
we
like,
have, yeah, the example. That's a perfect example.
right,
It's
it's things
it's
like that. there
there's
there there are
reports.
different like stories of these things out there. Like, is it true? Is it an urban legend? Who knows? But that's the kind of thing, like, I can buy into this. If we can believe that a black hole can warp gravity fields and the fabric of space, why can't we believe that something could do the same thing to time?
Well, I mean, we have Manifest, we have Outlander, and we have, Lost. We have all of these shows that have these
Those are
little
fiction,
premises.
and
Oh, well,
so
my
is Dial of Destiny. But I'm
but I'm
just saying,
saying
like,
people
this
have
is
pulled
believable.
from that genre, and messing with the alien things. Plenty of people who believe in aliens, but you're messing with a genre in a way that is it's quite a leap from what the Indiana Jones world is, as opposed to taking this as he's a naturalist, right? And so this is a natural thing, and you have math behind it,
Right.
you know. And so I liked that. I thought that was really cool. I thought the daughter was a great character, frustrating at times, but
Goddaughter, not
God,
Indiana Jones's
no,
daughter.
I meant the daughter of the guy from the at the beginning.
Yeah,
Did you notice
Toby
how
Jones.
from the beginning, so many people from Marvel movies. I'm watching and I'm going, wait a second, isn't he the guy from Red Skull?
Yeah,
From
that's
first
Dr. Zola.
Dr. Zola, and then you had the bad guy on the train, who was the guy from Age of Ultron at the
Yeah,
beginning, you know.
yeah,
And so I'm like going through, I'm going like, oh, they're just kind of pulling their regulars.
yeah. You had Von Strucker. You had Mads Mikkelsen was in Doctor
Mads
Strange.
Mikkelsen, and he
Harrison
was
Ford's going to be General Ross coming up
right,
in the
right.
Thunderbolts.
Did
Yeah,
you notice that actor? And I don't know if you know this guy. That was the guy with the mustache who was the bad guy. I don't know what his name is. He was the one of one of the henchmen.
oh, yeah, I know who you're
His
talking
name,
about.
oh, is Boyd Holbrook. All right, so this guy
He was in
played,
Logan.
yeah, he was in Logan, but he was also in Sandman, the show Sandman that's come out. He played the Corinthian, and that was a pretty crazy character. But he plays a bad guy good. He really
Yeah,
does.
yeah. If you want to see another disappointing movie with him, check out Predator or The Predator.
Well, the Predator, yeah.
Yeah. That was not a very great movie either. Anyway, so I was saying before we got off on our time travel tangent, I got really drawn in emotionally with Indy's story there, because you get reintroduced to him at this point in his life, and it seems like he is a broken man. It's like, where's Marion? She's not in his apartment. She's not there with him. And we're not getting any of this story. When we left off at the end of Crystal Skull, he and Marion are walking down the aisle. They got married. He's got a son. Sure, it's Shia LaBeouf, but beggars can't be choosers. And then you think things are going well for Dr. Jones, and you come into this, and he's
He,
not at the same university he was before.
no,
He
he's a
is,
crabby old man,
yeah, he's a crabby old man
crotchety.
who is basically, it looks, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it looks like he's being forced into retirement,
Right.
because it's not like he's the popular professor on campus these days.
No.
You don't have girls in his classroom writing "love you" on their
Right. Love
eyelids
you on the
anymore.
eyelids. Yeah.
um well, who would? He's a crotchety old man who uses an overhead projector and expects you to do the reading. None of his students respect him, and
No, they
that's
don't.
really sad. And so, obviously he's got all these things going on in his life, and when he gets to the point where they are in the past, in ancient Rome, well, ancient, where was it? Where did it end up? It was not Rome proper, but it's part of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Um, I can't. Gosh, why can't I remember this? I'm usually so good about history stuff. But anyway,
But anyway, he arrives there and he wants to stay.
he wants to stay. Yeah, he wants to just continue to watch history unfold.
And
And
I admit, I when we got to that point, I'm like, so this is how they'll end it. This
yeah,
is how Indiana Jones goes out. He's back in time and he gets to live in history. And I when that didn't happen, I'm like, well, you know what? Good. And especially that was even before I got to the Marion part, because I was thinking, he would mess up time. You can't do that. You can't
Right.
stay and not have the effect of things, right?
And I knew Helena wouldn't let him do it. Like I knew she was going to find some way to stop him or force him to come back to the future. Um, because yes, it would screw up the timeline. So when he wakes up back in his apartment and you know, she returns with Marion, uh, you know, I just loved it. I loved
Oh,
being
I
able
did
to see
too.
them reunited and their moment together. You could have thrown everything else about that movie out, but you have that moment with the two of them together, and she said that Helena said you were back. Is that true?
Yeah.
And he's back. He is who he once was. He is himself again. And
Did you think it was funny though? Like, this is the part I was chuckling at, because when she says, like, is there anywhere you're not hurt, and she starts kissing, that was his little moment with Elsie, or the girl, the Nazi girl, right?
no, that was with her
That was with her.
in Raiders
Oh,
of the
okay.
Lost Ark. Yeah, when
It
they're
was
on the
Raiders
boat.
that she did it. Right, right. The
Yeah, when they're on the
famous
boat.
scene where they started doing it. I couldn't remember who it was that it happened with, and I was sitting there going, "Gosh, I hope I hope that was with Marion, because otherwise he's using his lines on multiple women."
No, yeah. So
But he's a cat. He could
it
have.
was a it went backwards. Hang on. My screen just okay, sorry. My screen went blank for a minute. No, it was a turnabout on that one because in the original in Raiders, he was beat up and everything hurt. And when she was asked, well, where doesn't it hurt? And
And
he
then
was
he
like,
goes here.
here. And
Yeah,
then he was like, here.
you're right, right, right. Oh, the girl, the blonde girl from that was where they fought. They
Yeah.
were fighting, and they started
Yeah.
kissing.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man,
She's a traitor. Let's never talk about her again.
she could have. She had a chance to be good.
No. The only good thing she did was give Donovan a fake grail because she was still in it for herself. She thought she could still take the grail for her own personal
She
glory,
was she was a good
and
bad
she
guy.
died for it.
She was a good bad guy. That whole scene in I know we're kind of jumping around, but that scene in Last Crusade, just where she's reaching for it, she falls, and then when he's reaching for it, he's almost got it, so close, and his dad says Indiana, which he never calls him that, right? And that was,
Junior.
yeah, Junior. What a great matchup, though. You think about these different matchups, um, and Sean Connery and Harrison Ford were such a great matchup as father son.
It
I
was
I
it was a
love
dream
that.
come true for Spielberg because he always wanted to direct a Bond movie,
That's close as he'll
and
get.
this is about as close as he ever got. Um, yeah, and do you know that Sean Connery and Harrison Ford only had 12 years between them?
Oh, really?
Yeah, Connery was only 12 years older than Harrison Ford playing his father.
Harrison Ford's always kind of played these. I mean, you think about, like, even looking at Han Solo. I mean, wasn't his age compared to Mark Hamill pretty different, or were they the same?
Oh no, they were not the same age. I would say they never really talk about uh Solo's age. At least not in the original trilogy. I'm sure it's out there somewhere when he was born on the timeline, but I would say he's pushing 30.
He's always aged very well, though. I mean, but him being the Jack Ryan, for so long. I mean, the movie Fugitive. I mean, this prime of his age, and to be able to continue to do movies like this, Harrison Ford's just an. I think one of the things I love about him is what he says without saying anything. When you've got actors that their facial expressions, their reactions, less is more. It's powerful, and he really he does it. He's got great lines too. He's got great delivery, but just his look and feel, his vibe. I mean, I think it's fantastic. I don't know how they did it with the CGI, by the way,
The
because,
de aging.
yeah, well, no, not the de aging, the how they were able to do his expressions and things like that. Because there's just some mannerisms that are very much him that I'm sure he did, and they de-aged him. But how you capture that and it doesn't look fake is crazy. It's crazy how they do that. The voice
Well,
stuff they really can't seem to get though, because from the get-go, that was a challenge at the beginning of the movie because I could hear old Harrison Ford and not young Harrison Ford.
yeah, that was the tough thing. The de-aging process looked great. Um, but yeah, hearing an 81-year-old man voice coming out of what 40 something Harrison Ford's face, it was like, well, that doesn't sound right at all.
But they accomplished it with Mark Hamill, right? Did they use Mark Hamill's voice for Mandalorian?
Yeah, but Mark Hamill is a voice actor who can modulate his voice a lot better than Harrison Ford can.
I guess that's a great point. Yeah.
Harrison Ford just talks like this all the time now.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Hey kid, get off my plane.
Get off my. Yeah. I didn't
Uh,
mind there's some lines, some cheesy lines here and there in the movie, but it was there's some campiness that has to happen in these Indiana Jones because they're like serials, right? I mean, they're kind of like these. I know that I was talking to somebody else and they were like, "Oh my gosh, they couldn't stand the movie," and I was like, is there anything that like nostalgia? And he's just like you were saying, it would have been best if they stopped with the originals. And you can't fault somebody for having that view. But as an enthusiast, I just look at it and I say, I don't know, I like seeing a further adventure of a character that I love, so long as it's not being forced down my throat in a way that's not like real to that character, like Crystal Skull was. For Indiana Jones to have anything to do with aliens was out of place. This is not
uh,
out of place.
interdimensional beings.
Whatever. Still alien to our dimension.
Um, no, I do think that Dial of Destiny it did what it set out to do. I mean, other than make money, it obviously has not done that. But it was entertaining. I really enjoyed Harrison Ford's performance. I even liked Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I wasn't sure what I was going to think about her because I don't know her very well. I've never
I
seen
didn't
her.
know it at
Like,
all.
everyone talks about her show Fleabag. I've never seen it. It's never really appealed to me, so I wasn't really sure going into it. But I thought she was great as the goddaughter Helena. Um, I would have appreciated the movie a little bit more if they had done another callback and maybe brought in Short Round as an
Oh, I
adult.
thought the same because you had that kid. There was so many throwbacks to that same
Yeah,
short round feel. Oh, I know.
but I knew that wasn't going to happen because I knew that they made a big deal about them seeing each other at the Academy Awards, and it's like the first time they'd seen each other in so long, and I that kind of thing was like, I wish they had done that because that would have been an incredible callback. I did love when they were in the cave and he is referring to his time during Temple of Doom. He's like, "Well, you've never had to drink the blood of Kali."
that was good.
Yeah. I've had an actual voodoo doll used against me.
that
Uh
was
like
a great one.
because it's like, they when they throw back the like in the previous movies, whenever they have that callback to anything, it's always the Ark of the Covenant. That's it. Like when they were in the
Not
catacombs
Temple of Doom. Yeah.
in Venice in Last Crusade, they see the artwork of the Ark of the Covenant, and she's like, "Are you sure?" "Pretty sure." and, and then in the Area 51,
Yeah.
when they're looking for the alien body, we see that, like, the camera pans down on that glimpse of a broken box, and sure enough, what are the odds? It's the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh yeah, no, that was a good throwback. Surprising to see Antonio Banderas. I was like, oh, token Antonio.
Oh yeah,
Just
and
kind of
like, it's
a
such a small role too.
it was
Poor
good
guy,
though, but it was just like,
didn't even stand a chance.
didn't stand a chance.
Man,
Um,
that whole scene going underwater made me nervous. I was like,
oh yeah,
this is this is not safe, guys.
the
I don't.
screeching eels. Hear that,
Yeah,
princess?
I was so glad that it was eels because that's basically snakes underwater.
I would
It's
have
like,
loved it, and I know this would have been appropriate. Instead of Antonio Banderas, it should have been Wallace Shawn, and being like, do you hear that? The shrieking eels.
those are the shrieking eels, and they always grow louder when they're about to feed on human flesh.
Inconceivable.
You
Oh
keep using
man.
this word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
Well, I think like let's see. Mads Mikkelsen I thought was great. He's always kind of the same, I
I
mean,
mean, yeah, he's an excellent bad guy. I mean,
he's yeah. Though he
I,
did good in Rogue One. I thought that was a I thought his role was pretty awesome there, but it's still the same. He's just always kind of the same. Hannibal, even when I watched the entire series of Hannibal, and I was like, same guy, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, he's not the kind of actor who gets lost in a role. Um, he's just kind of there
This is who he
and
is.
reads the part and is very menacing. He's good at it.
He is very menacing.
Um, those are all the big names that were in it, right?
Yeah,
Other than
yeah. I
Marion
mean, it
showing up at
was
the end, and
seeing Sala, was great. I mean, that was cool, and
that. So I'll say I was disappointed with that.
I wish they'd
Um,
done a little bit more.
I wish he had gone on the adventure with Indy. I wish Indy
Right,
had
at
let
the
him come.
airport.
Yeah,
What?
let Sala come with you because what else are you gonna do?
I
Uh,
know.
I when we saw Sala in the trailers, I was like, oh, thank you.
No,
Let's bring him back. Because he was
they
such an
really could
integral
have.
part in both Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade, and to have him, you know, pulled back to basically a cameo, it's just like, what's the point? Why even
I
have him at
know.
all?
It was cute how when he's trying to take the grandkids out to go get ice cream and stuff like that and stuff, then he's singing that same song,
Yeah,
that was cool. But you're right. I mean, it would have been there could have been something, you know what I mean? He could have arranged transportation. I mean, Salah's role in Raiders, other than, I mean, obviously going down into the pit was a big deal. But outside of that, he was a facilitator. You know what I mean? He arranged and helped,
yeah. I
and,
mean,
and that could have happened.
yeah. No, it's I that was to me that was disappointing. I mean, I loved seeing him. Don't get me wrong, but to have him be a glorified cameo
And
was
even a taxi
disappointing.
driver. I'm assuming that was his taxi and he's now a
Yeah,
taxi driver. I'm just
yeah.
like, come on.
Well,
You
and that's the thing. Like you've got it was a throwaway line, but he mentioned that Indy was the one who helped get the family to
get their
America
family. Yeah, right. Right.
after the war. And so, that kind of thing makes sense. But if we hadn't seen him at all we have to do is assume that he continued to live his life with his family in Cairo,
Right. Right.
unobstructed, and let's just life goes on. But um, yeah,
I thought that the beginning part in the parade and how that was like with them killing people or working with the CIA and going too far and stuff like that. I thought that that was like not very believable. Like just that they would just like shoot people in a parade or like
you
and
don't think the CIA would just shoot people in a parade?
I don't I think that the bad guys being able to do that was just like and maybe it's just because in this day and age and back then they didn't have cell phones to go, catch everybody. You know what I mean? But it's just like part of it's like it's kind of outlandish. It's just
Let me say for the record, I think the CIA is doing a bang up job. I don't think they'd kill anybody in a parade whatsoever. Okay. Just want to make sure we got that out there.
at the same token, we'd also like to say if this is the last time you see us. Why?
No, it won't be because I just said the CIA is doing a bang up job and they are not, you know, killing
What
people
do
in
you mean
parades.
by that? What does bang up mean in
That
the
was the
code?
Nazis killing people in the parade in a
What
fictional
kind of
movie.
code are you speaking? What is this bang up? jargon.
It
Anyway,
also means good job.
thank you, Thorth. So I guess if you were to rank the Indiana Jones movies in order, and you don't have to go one, two,
Like in
three,
order of favorites or
five,
chronological
four.
order.
No, yeah, no, in order of favorites. No. In order of favorites, where would you land? And really, I know it comes down to, I mean, we all going to say Crystal Skull's dead last, but I'd be interested in what you think about the three and then Four Style of Destiny.
Personal preference, it would go Raiders, from best to least. I would say Raiders, Last Crusade, Dial of Destiny, Temple of Doom, Crystal Skull.
I think I'm the same. I'm kind of in. I'm kind of Temple of Doom and Dial are kind of here for me, and it's and only because I really liked all three of the old movies, you know. But from a plot standpoint and everything, there's scenes in Temple of Doom that make me ill. I mean, just the eating bugs and
Yeah.
have a hard time.
Yeah, Temple of Doom, I always considered that the weakest of the original trilogy. And if it was up to me, there's a good chance I would just watch Raiders of the Lost Ark and then Last Crusade back to back over and over again, and I'd be okay without seeing Temple of Doom.
Yeah,
Um, but it's fine. I mean, for what it is, for what it was in 1984 when it was made, it helped to establish the PG-13 rating. Because
as
before
a
that, it was
three-year-old, I concur.
um and I mean, and you get short round. I mean, you can't
Data.
fault a movie for that. Um,
Dun, 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 dun.
so yeah, and then yeah, he gets to go on and play Data, and then he disappears for 40 years. It
Well,
shows up in everything everywhere all at
anything,
once.
everywhere, anything, everywhere. Yeah,
You don't even know the title of that movie. Have you seen that? I haven't
I
seen it yet.
did. I did.
Is it
I
good?
liked it. Yeah, no, I liked
I,
it. The
I've I
writing
haven't
is
heard
cool.
anything bad about it. I need
No,
to
it was
find it somewhere and
great.
watch it. I probably have to break down and rent it because it's probably streaming somewhere that I don't have.
Like and if you are looking for, I mean, it's got great fighting. It's got great. It's just a take on multiverse kind of stuff that just deviates from the Marvel stuff. I mean, and of course, just seeing like Jamie Lee Curtis and Short Round again, their different roles and personalities and their stuff. I mean, it was really cool. I liked it. I liked it. It was entertaining. Um, but so okay, so Indiana Jones. This is going to be it. This is the last one. Do you think like eventually they'll have some reboot or something like that, taking the name?
Um, Now that wouldn't surprise me, but it'll be a long time.
I hope so.
Because obviously this is a well-known franchise. Disney is going to have the rights to it forever. I could see them at some point maybe trying to test the waters with another TV series. Maybe going for another Young Indiana Jones type of deal. I don't know. Um, I feel like if this movie had done well, they may have approached Phoebe Waller Bridge to continue the franchise as Helena, but I don't think that's going to be an option considering the box office that we've seen for the last 2 weeks for Dial of Destiny. Um,
I would be disappointed too. I don't think. I think when you have something that ends well for a character, a beloved character, just let it go.
yeah, I mean, I think sometimes
Indiana,
there just
let it
has to be
go.
an ending.
Yeah,
And like I said, I really think the ending for this should have been in 1989 when they literally rode off into the sunset. That was a perfect ending. And but nobody wants to let things go. Nobody wants to see
right.
things really come to an end because we all want to see what happens next. And we're obsessed with it. And I don't know how we've gotten conditioned this way, and it's not because of the MCU that
No,
continues to go on and on and on and on. It's it because we've been this way forever. You know, yes, we had a trilogy in Star Wars. You had A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. That was it. Oh, but then we've got these rumors of prequels. George Lucas has prequels and a sequel trilogy all planned out. We're going to get those eventually, and so that's just chumming the waters for fans to want more. And then eventually the prequels do come out, and then it's like, oh well, what's going to happen next? We got to have
Right.
more. And then you have the Clone Wars, and then you've got, oh well, now Disney bought it, and they're going to do sequels, and now
Well,
you've
and
got eight
streaming
thousand different
service.
TV shows.
Well, yeah, I think the streaming change has definitely made a huge difference. There's a progression here for what binge watching has become, and the investment that people have in shows. Where it's I mean, squeezing the lemon, but then there's other things that come out, and it can be groundbreaking. I mean, you look at something like Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which we should probably do a podcast on at some point. I think it's becoming pretty fantastic, that it's worth it.
That's some of the best
Um,
Star Trek that's come out in years.
See, and that's the thing that I'm saying here is that we say all this, and then you have something like this happening with Strange New Worlds, and you go, "What?" You know?
Well, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. There can be good that comes out of these continued stories. I'm not
It's
discounting
just
that at all.
rare, super
But
rare.
but it's like Hollywood studios, whatever, they have the rights to do whatever they want to with these intellectual properties, right? And so they think, all right, just because I have it, I should do something with it because there's got to be something we haven't done yet, and it's bound to make me money
Right.
because that's all the studio, that's all the executives, that's all they care about is making more money. Sure, they've got millions, but they can always have more, right? And so you're looking at there's not going to be anything that stays dead for long. All right. Halloween Ends, right, is supposed to be the final Halloween movie. And it didn't do very well in the box office. It's probably going to be the last Halloween movie for now. Eventually, someone's going to come along. They're going to realize, oh, hey, I've got the rights to this Michael Myers character. Why not reboot it all over again and start from scratch? We'll have
Let's
a new
make
Michael
Yeah,
Myers.
a new
We'll have
one.
a new Laurie Strode and a new set of babysitters that he can kill, and that'll be the resurgence of Halloween once again. Probably not next year, but in another 10 years or so, I could see it happening. All of these intellectual. I'm
Intellectual
getting ahead of myself, and now my tongue won't work. All of
influence.
these intellectual properties, they don't want to let them sit on a shelf for too long
Right.
because then people forget about them. But if you bring them back out every 10 years or so, it's like we can hit that nostalgia button. And the people who were kids when the last movie came out, they'll get excited to see what happens next to these
Yeah,
characters.
no, it's true. Well, I do think that there is like or at least for me, I'm starting to, from a time standpoint, because I can't watch everything, and I have watched so many things that have ended poorly, or that it's just like, ugh, it just it went a different direction, or they overplayed it or overdid it. Even with Marvel now, I mean, I'm starting to be more selective, and I think that's kind of part of the gig is you look at this stuff, and there are some movies that are just core, and you have to kind of protect yourself because you're going to have it tarnished a little bit. There's some movies, if you say to yourself, Titanic was a standalone, doesn't need a sequel. Goonies was a great movie. If they were going to do a Goonies 2 with like the video game, you know what I mean? If they're going to do a Goonies 2, they should have done it then. But to try to do a new Goonies movie with, Sean Astin and Corey Feldman and, um, Data or Chunk, yeah, they're all adults now. And maybe some people would be like, oh, I'd like to see what they'd be like as an adult. It's like it's just not the spirit of the movie, you know? It's
Yeah.
like a one and done thing. And so you look at stuff like that and you go, this was good. Leave it.
If you look, if you want your sequel to the Goonies, watch Stranger Things. Okay,
There you go.
that's got your another set of kids in the '80s who are going off on adventures. That's your Goonies sequel. Okay, that's what that is. Um, stop. Yeah, we need to stop looking at things that from our childhood and or from 20 years ago or whatever, and thinking, oh, it's never going to be the same, and I really wish they'd do this or do that or reboot it. No, let's just
Well,
let a
and then
thing be what it is.
what I like is when you have, like, think about like A Quiet Place, that kind of thing that just like never thought about that. You have a movie that comes out and it's just its own thing. And then they tried to do Quiet Place 2, and that was fine.
And
But
now let's ruin it with a whole bunch of sequels and an entire universe.
that exactly. So that's the danger. And maybe the fact is, as we're watching movies and streaming stuff, you're just looking for that, you know, for new stuff. There's new stuff.
Yeah, there's there's good independent movies out there that no one's given a chance to, and because all we see are the trailers for these huge tentpole blockbusters that will never end. Now, so there's two ways of thinking about this stuff, and I think we've talked about this before. You have your Harry Potter, which is a series of books that has a beginning and an ending.
Yeah.
The story is told. But then you've got James Patterson's novels with Alex Cross as your main character. And they just keep going and
And
going
going
and
and
going
going
and
and go. That's right.
what was it from Pee-wee's Big
Pee-wee.
Adventure?
And rolling and rolling.
No, it's not rolling. It's just when they're in the basement. Oh gosh. Oh, it's killing me.
I'm
But
I'm
anyway.
actually looking through at there's a movie that I saw with Tom Hanks from 2020 called News of the World. So I go on with my parents last weekend because my wife kicked me out for her sister and cousins to come over. So I went to their house with the kiddos, and they want to watch a movie. Now my parents are funny because my dad was in a place when I was growing up where he's like, let's watch Cliffhanger, his favorite movie of all time. That's kind of where he was. And now it's like, we saw this movie on Hallmark. You've got to see this movie, and I'm just like, that's you're an old man, and so we'll always joke about it. He's like,
You
oh,
got old, Dad.
it's the best. It's the best. So they want to sit down. They want to watch this movie from that's Tom Hanks, and it's like a Western called News of the World.
Yeah, I heard it was good.
We watched this movie. It was awesome. It was
Yeah.
such a great movie. It was like a classic Western, and so that's kind of like these little caveat, these little movies like that are just like surprising. I never would have heard of it had like the old fogies not pushed me in the direction. So
Speaking of Tom Hanks, did you see A Man Called Otto?
not yet. I've heard I need to be in a mood.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I read the book that it was based on though,
Oh,
so I was really impressed with it. But the book was better,
yeah.
um, as is typically the case. Uh, but yeah, all right. So Indiana Jones, this is basically it, right? We think this is
This is it.
I now that the Young Indiana Jones Adventures is on Disney Plus, I think I might go back and watch that because I remember
What that
watching that
Boondock
as a
Saints guy?
kid.
What was
What's
that
that?
guy's name? The kid's name, the guy who played him.
Uh,
Flannery?
yes, Sean Patrick Flannery,
Yeah, yeah. Boondocks. Boondock
Boondock
Saints.
Saints.
With
Yeah,
Boondock.
I kind of want to go back and watch that because it was only 2 seasons, wasn't it?
Yes.
I remember catching a few episodes here and there when I was a kid, but never really like buying into it.
I never got into it.
But it'll be interesting to go back and see it now because hey, it's all canon now, right?
Hey,
You want some trivia?
yes,
Okay. Number one, who played love interest Willie Scott in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom?
that would be Steven Spielberg's wife, Kate Capshaw.
That is correct. Now they weren't married at the time,
No,
but that's where they met.
yeah.
So,
She's also in
you know,
Space Camp, remember?
I love Space Camp.
Me too.
Oh, I love that movie. You can watch it on YouTube.
Team Phoenix.
Um,
Tate
okay.
Donovan.
Yeah, Tate Donovan, Leah Thompson,
Leah Thompson.
um,
Who's
Tom Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt? Oh, classic Tom Skerritt, like from Top Gun Tom Skerritt.
Oh, and what's his name? Terry O'Quinn was in it too.
That's right. That's
A lot
right.
of a lot of big names. Kelly Preston.
Kelly
Kelly Preston was in it.
Preston. That's true. Yeah.
Um, Ladies and gentlemen, please return your seats and tray tables to their full and upright position because we're about to land in the red zone.
Do 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 do. Tate Donovan was the coolest guy in that movie.
Oh man, what a cheesy movie too. I tell you what,
Oh,
that
this
could never happen in real
thing.
life.
That's like Flight of the Navigator, you know? It's like good movies.
Space Camp really happened.
Mm.
All right, next Indiana Jones question. Uh, I'm just making these
Are
up as I
you
go
just
along
making
because
these up as you
yeah,
go along?
I didn't write them down. Um,
What in the world? Did you ever play the video game? The Indiana Jones video game that was on the PC?
no, I played Raiders of the Lost Ark on Atari 2600.
Oh yeah, I played that one. But the one on the PC, man, that was so hard trying to find like
Was
you're
that the Search for Atlantis?
maybe it was one of those ones where you move around. It's kind of like a detective kind of a thing, you know, where you go in a room and you're looking for things, you're trying to find stuff. Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know. All right. In the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark where Sala and Indy are lifting the Ark out of the stone box that it's in, on the background on the wall, you can see in hieroglyphics characters from Star Wars. Which characters can you see?
R2D2 and C3PO.
That is correct. I think we've used that as a trivia question
I
before.
did. Yeah, that's I have to I don't want to I don't want to act cool. I got it wrong when we did trivia. So but I remember now. I remember now.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. You're learning. You're learning and you're using that information to show that you've learned.
I've got one for you.
All right, give it.
What actor also played from the Indiana Jones films also was a prominent and consistent character in Game of Thrones?
What actor
From Indiana Jones. Oh, I'll even go Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was a prominent actor in Game of Thrones.
I don't know the actor's name, but the guy who played Donovan, Walter Donovan. He was one of the maester. He was the maester, right?
Grand Master Pycelle.
Grand maester. Yeah. Yeah, I recognized him.
And he was also in Star Wars. He was in
Sure he
Return of the
was. No,
Jedi.
no, he was in Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back. That's right. He
He
walked.
was he was the commander of the landing party on Hoth.
Oh shoot! I just had his name and I darn. Hold on. I can tell you. We should say it. Game of Thrones. And Meister Pycelle. His name is
Walter Donovan.
Walter Donovan.
Don't trust anybody.
Julian Glover.
That's right. That's correct. Good job. Okay. What Saturday Night Live comedian slash actor had a cameo in Temple of Doom as the guy who arranges for Indy to have a flight out of China or out of Shanghai? Saturday Night Live alum. And remember, this is 1984, so this is the early days of Saturday Night Live, within the first 10 years.
Temple of Doom?
Yep. Shows up in Temple of Doom at the airport. He's arranged for Indiana Jones to be on a cargo plane full of live poultry. Goodness, aren't you Willard Scott? The famous American actor or singer.
I can't remember. Who you got?
It was Dan Aykroyd.
I don't even remember that.
Yep.
Would
Dan
he have a
Aykroyd.
mustache?
He did.
Oh, that was Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, you can barely recognize him because you hardly see him, and he's just in and out for just a minute. You can recognize his voice if you really listen to him, but yeah, Dan Aykroyd.
Wow. All right, here's one for you. All right. What actor from Raiders also went on to become a very famous actor that did movies such as Maverick and Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire. He is
Alfred Molina.
Alfred Molina. That's right.
Yeah, he was the guy at the beginning who tried to betray Indy and then got killed.
He does his little fingers.
Throw me the idol. I'll throw you the whip.
That's right.
Adios, senor.
Adios.
Yeah, that was his first movie.
He was good bad guy, Maverick.
All right, I got one more for you.
Maverick, Mel Gibson, not Top Gun, if anybody's wondering.
Right. The good Maverick. I mean, wait, no, Top Gun Maverick was awesome. All right, last one about Temple of Doom. I don't know why I've got all these random trivia from Temple of Doom when that's the one I didn't like.
You're trying to find meaning.
I am. The opening scene takes place in a nightclub. What's the name of that nightclub? To give you a hint, it's another Star Wars callback.
The Blue Cantina?
Club Obi-Wan.
Club Obi-Wan?
Yep. Yep. You can see it. You can see it on the marquee when they fall out of the building.
Club Obi-Wan.
Yep. All right. Did you have any other questions you want to throw my way?
No. I think we're good, man. That was fun.
All right. Well, that is all we've got for you this week. If you have any thoughts about Indiana Jones in general or Dial of Destiny, please leave some comments. Shoot us an email. We want you to be part of the conversation. If you have enjoyed this podcast, tell your friends about it. Give us a like, subscribe, hit that little notification bell on YouTube. But you can also find us at Spotify and wherever you hear your favorite podcasts. We're all over the place. So tell your friends, family, tell the enemies that you try to steal MacGuffins from. Whatever you want to do, let's do it. Because we don't exist if we don't have your support. So thanks for that. And we appreciate you listening. We appreciate you watching. And that's it for this week. Have a great whatever it is, wherever you are.
Thanks.